Also, I'm doing something like a little bit different with my hair. I'm trying not to like pin it up anymore. I just don't like that look. But I'm also giving very much box head. So ignore that. I don't know how I feel about it. I like it, but I don't know. And I straighten the ends so that they just like wouldn't look weird. Anyways, let's just get into this monthly reading wrap up. I read 6 books, but we do have one DNF in there. So the first book that I read this month was the 57 Bus. This is a true story about 2 high school kids named Sasha and Richard. Sasha is a gender person, and they were riding the bus home from high school. They live in Oakland, California, and they fell asleep on the bus, and somebody on the bus set them on fire, literally lit their skirt and set them on fire. And this story just goes into what it was like for both students, Sasha and Richard, because Sasha was or is white and Richard is a black teenage boy, and they both, like, Richard grew up in the bad side of town and Sasha didn't. She grew up on the good side of town. And I believe also that Sasha was neurodivergent, so she did, not that she didn't understand, but she kind of was thinking, okay, I'm getting better, you know, why is everybody like treating this or treating Richard like this? And it just went through the like court proceedings and Sasha handling this situation, what it did to their life, how they moved forward, and then kind of went along the path as well as Richard's life and the judicial system and how it wrongs a lot of colored people. And it just tackled that. It was a very hard read. It was something so hard to read and kind of put your mind into both of both people's perspective. But it was a really, sorry guys, my camera storage came up. So I did read that a 5 out of 5. Like I said, it was a very hard story to read. And obviously you don't want anybody to go through that experience. But it is very important that, like, when these type of situations happen, that we talk about them and we educate people that, you know, just because of our differences, we can't just go around treating each other like shit, right? So, very important to read. In my opinion, it's a very important YA story, especially right now in the current state of the United States, of the world. I think that a lot of teenage kids need to read this story to understand each other better. So the next book that I read was Night Shift by Annie Crown, and I read this on my Kindle. I read the other book on my Kindle as well. Excuse me. English, and she is like an English god. She knows so much about reading and writing, and the relationship kind of sparks from there, and they're feeling each other, they're feeling the vibes, and Vincent makes a move, and Kendall's also a virgin. I don't know, I don't care, and like I don't not care. I think she's like 24. I think they're both like 24, maybe 23, I don't know, maybe 21. I know that Kendall is over the age of 21. Girl, I don't know. Either way, it's all consenting. Yeah, so it just takes you on the journey of, you know, jock meets nerd, how they make that relationship work. There's also a lot of miscommunication in this story, and they both think like the other person's not interested, and then when they find out that they are interested, there's just a lot of miscommunication. And since Kendall is this bookworm, the author references like the miscommunication trope a lot, and I'm like, okay, we get it, you know, kind of situation. Kind of like, oh, I'm not in a book right now, like this is real life type of situation. And I don't love when authors do that. Sorry. Also, if you see me scratching my nose a lot, I'm having like a bad allergy attack, but we have to power through. Anyway, so there's a lot of miscommunication and things that could have been just solved if they just would have talked to each other. Like they got into it and then they didn't talk, and they used their friends to like talk to each other, so they went through the friends, and I'm like, okay, come on now, like we're supposed to be adults and we're acting like children. I gave it 4 stars. I would recommend it, especially if you just like cliche romance. It was good, but it wasn't spectacular. Like it didn't leave me thinking about these characters after the book was done. Like it didn't have me wishing for a second book following up on these characters. The next book I read was Highest Bidder by Lauren Landish and Willow's Winter. I was so excited to read this book. I had followed Willow on Instagram for quite some time, and I'd never read her stories. And this book was supposed to be smut, pretty much like a girl who gets into like escorting to like pay for college, pretty much. Like that is the gist. I just felt that this story had no character building, no like plot building. I didn't connect. I didn't feel anything with these characters, and it just felt very Wattpad-ish, like very much like fan fiction in a way. I don't know, it's just like really hard for me to explain. But this book felt awkward to read, and I'm a smut lover. Like I will read smut, but there was just no connection in this book for me. I gave it 1 stars, and especially for it to be like 350 pages, like you would expect to build that relationship, and it just kept going back to like how Delilah, our main character, you know, needed the money for school. Her family abandoned her, but she has to do this and get into this contractual relationship, but at the same time nobody can know. And it just, I she's, doing everything, and I had to DNF this book. It just, girl, it made me cringe. And I don't even remember the main character's name. Oh, Jenna. Her name was Jenna. Jenna's family owns a pumpkin patch, and one day she finds a $50 bill in the tip jar with like a special note written on it, obviously meant for a grandchild, for somebody, and she takes it upon herself to find this person and who this $50 belongs to, because they might be missing it and not even know. So she takes it upon herself and she finds the person miraculously by like searching through like town archives, and it ends up being a prominent person in the community who it belongs to. And that's kind of like where I stopped. It's the writing was all over the place, and like the verbiage and the wording that the author was using was just so cringy. Like, her mom and her aunt worked at the pumpkin farm, and she didn't call them like mom, or she didn't call them aunt. She was like, oh, the sisters. Like, she would refer to them as the sisters. And she's supposed to be 30, and I just found that so cheesy, so I DNF'd it. It was painful. I think I got like 30% through. You guys, it was painful. If my nose looks like it's getting redder and redder, it is because I keep stopping to scratch it. I don't know what's in the air or whatever, but my nose is itching so bad. Anyways, moving forward. So by this time, I DNF'd the last book, Pumpkin Spice and Not So Nice, and I was feeling uninspired and a little bit over reading on the Kindle. So my husband and I and my daughter, we went to Target, and I was like, okay, that is enough. F it, we are getting a physical book, because if I read one more book on my Kindle right now, I'm gonna lose my mind. So I picked up a book, and here it is, a physical book. It feels so good to read a physical book again. I don't know what it is, but sometimes you just need to break up, the vibes. So I picked up A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon. This was actually the first fantasy book that I have ever read. I tried to read like one other fantasy book before, and it just did not work out to me. But this one, oh my god. So this was so good. So this is about Mariel. She is a witch, and she has a really mean, terrible mom who wants her to be better at magic. And her friend Claudia and Themi, they are magical as well, and they have honed in on their craft, and they can do magic and they can do spells and stuff. But Mariel is just not where she wants to be, and everybody in her family like comes from this long line of like exceptional witches, but Mariel can only do amazing plant magic, but everything else she's just not good at. So she decides to make her neighbor cupcakes, and her mom is like, okay, well, don't forget to use your magic to import like flour. So when she tries to do that, she accidentally ends up summoning a demon from like the underworld, and the only way to make him go away is to trade your soul for like a wish to come true. And she's like, no, I didn't mean to summons you, like that was an accident, please just go away. I want to keep my soul, because if she was to give away her soul, she would lose her magic. So this is just taking you on the adventure of like Mariel and Ozroth the demon, and how they come to a compromise. I don't want to spoil it for you guys because it's actually so good. because I was so like it enveloped, is that the right word? Enveloped. I was so into this story. I could not put this book down. And I am not a fantasy girl. I think I've talked about it before. I just don't enjoy fantasy, and like I don't understand it, but this book made it so easy to just pick it up and just devour it. And it's good, you guys. Alright, so the next book, the final book that I'm so excited to talk to you guys about this book. I read The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. You guys, I don't really know what to say about this book. I do kind of want to do a whole separate video, kind of like deep diving this book. This book was 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, whatever you want to rate it. It was so good. And it's very hard for me to kind of like place memoirs on a score because this is somebody's story. You know, whether she wrote this book herself or had a ghostwriter or whatever, this is still her story. And it just kind of walked you through Britney's story of like becoming famous and, you know, losing love, losing a child, her family's treatment of her, which was so terrible, and just so many other things that like I don't even think, like I just don't have enough time to get into it. I would recommend it. Again, I don't know if Britney Spears literally sat down and wrote this book herself. I can't tell you. Maybe we'll never know. But when you read it, it definitely has Britney's sound. Like I could hear her voice in my head when I read this book. Oh, whoever wrote it or whatever, it was an amazing book. That's just that. 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, such a good book. Alrighty guys, so that is it. That's all the books I read this month. I'm having an allergy attack of my life. I've just been scratching my nose this entire video, so I'm gonna have to like edit it out. I have like